I make the introductions to no one, wait for the algorithm to catch up. Just a moment. And I'm refreshing my Facebook. Okay, we are going live on Instagram. Ladies, how are we
Okay.
doing on your Facebook? And
Live on Facebook. Yes.
yes, we're live. Are we on LinkedIn as well?
Let me check. Well, we're live in a lot of places.
We are live in a lot of
It's a little
places.
bit like, the Eurovision Song Contest.
Yeah, but I don't. It would be fun to watch Hrabbý, but I don't know about you, Alma, but I think my Eurovision solo would be less of a musical achievement and more of a comic relief.
I would probably be there with you, even though I go to a choir practice once a month, just so I can, let it all out there. And I usually end with one of those big 80s power ballads, so that we can scream our hearts out and just, it's really good to just get it all out there. And I have a huge smile on my face when I go home. And yeah, we can do that for Eurovision as well. Why not?
But that's for another time. We're not
Yeah.
giving that treat away just yet. So
No.
what are we talking about today? So for those of you who don't know me, I'm Raphy Mendoza. We're all going to introduce ourselves in a moment, and I'm joined here by Alma and Hrabbý. Don't make me say their surnames. They can up for themselves. And they are my two amazing colleagues who are going to be running a retreat with me in Iceland, or more like I'm running a retreat with them because Iceland is their hometown. I'm incredibly excited to make the flight, make my pilgrimage over to Iceland. It's one of those things. I haven't traveled a lot since the pandemic, and not abroad anyway. And there's something really special about traveling to some place specifically to engage in some form of deep self exploration, which is exactly what's going to happen at the retreat.
Mhm.
So we are going to be talking about the retreat today. We're also going to be talking about a Telegram event that we're creating for free, and that's happening on the 29th and the 30th of, is that right? Am I making up the dates?
You are right.
It's the 29th and 30th of October.
It is.
That Telegram event is designed to give you a big taste of what the retreat's going to entail. But today we're just going to share a little bit more about ourselves so that you know what you're buying into. And we're going to talk about something very specific because this retreat is designed specifically for entrepreneurs who are fairly established, like you could be fairly new, but like you're an entrepreneur and you know who you are, you know what your business is about, and you know who you're serving. But you are hitting ceiling after ceiling after ceiling in your business, and it seems like you've reached a point where no amount of strategy is helping. And that's quite common and quite normal because the thing is, we all have an incredibly unique business asset deep within ourselves, and for each of us that looks different. But a lot of entrepreneurs, like 99% of them, just shove this thing right in the closet in favor of proven strategies from the various internet gurus that are around, and even some of the mentors that you're paying who are really good at what they're doing. There's one thing that's the master key to your business that's often ignored, and that is your creative fire. And that's why this talk is called The Fire Within, because that's exactly what we're going to talk about. And speaking of flow, we haven't got any notes or any structure for this. And we've decided that we're just going to speak to you about our own lived experience of this truth, of our own lived experience and understanding of how our creative fire is the master key to everything. And with it, you can skyrocket your brand in your business and other areas of your life. And without it, you won't, and it won't feel anywhere near as fun. And the thing is, business has to be fun, and it is fun. It gets to be fun when you're being who you truly are. But when you have it, you're not tapping into and you're not rooted into your creative self-expression, you're not fully who you are, because that's such an inherent part of being human. So that's the introduction to the talk. I'm gonna let Alma and Hrabbý introduce themselves a little bit, and then for those of you who don't know me, then I will also introduce myself.
Yeah, I'm first going to say hi to Lauren, Rose, and Beta who are watching. Good to see you here. So I'm Alma, one of the guides at Starcodes Academy. I've known Raphy only 37 years, and still we're only 25.
Yes,
so
it's amazing how that happens.
I did the traditional route, basically going to university and more university and all the corporate jobs. And the thing is, when I'm looking back, I realized that while I was doing my corporate jobs, yes, I relied in some part on what I had studied. But I think because I was always dealing with people, then a big part of that was using my creativity to actually get things done. Because I realized that no matter how much I would study about the things I was doing, which was project management and IT, yes, there were all kinds of processes you needed to follow, but still, when we are dealing with people, we need to be creative to actually connect to them and just, because strategy is just one thing, but if you're only in the box, then we are just like drones. We just move on and it's all the same. And we like to have fun, as you said, and business has to be fun. But after severe life exhaustion, I had to get back into working somehow. And I wouldn't be where I am today if I had not been co-creating with Spirit. And I realized that I am a highly creative person. And things start to become very boring when we rely only on strategy. And we try this. I mean, we run a spiritual business, and sometimes we just get too much into our heads and we are only focusing on strategy and the processes and what we should be doing. But then as soon as we take a step back, we take a deep breath and we connect to our creativity and this amazing creative power within us, then everything becomes so much better. And also, I'm a parent of a neurodivergent child. So that is something that where I've had to really let go of everything that I have learned and just start to create the life that fits us, which is definitely not the way that a lot of specialists want us to, not how they would advise us to be. And it's all about, finding the right ways for us and finding ways to have fun and enjoy. Hrabbý.
Yes. So I'm Raphy. We are not just the guides in Starcodes Academy. We are the owners and the founders as well. And I have a similar background as Alma. I have a university degree, 2 university degrees. I specialized in tourism development, and tourism was kind of my niche for over 20 years. But I never felt, I've always had this need to create. Ever since I was a little girl, I've been if I was not creating some piece of art or drawing or writing a poem or writing a song or whatever, I was creating a new world or a big adventure in my mind. And I had this place I could escape to, which was another life that I had created in my mind. So I've always had this strong urge to create, and I'm an artist as well. And I feel that every time if I get frustrated and really impatient and just if I have many down days in a row, then it's usually because I haven't had a creative outlet for some time. And for me, it was, I think I realized the power of this combination, the creative power to have a spiritual connection as well, and just be connected with yourself is when I had my life exhaustion as well a few years back. And I started to go over my life, and I saw that I had been creating my life up until now, but I had been creating the wrong things for me. Because you have the power to create a lot of amazing things, but you also have the power to create a lot of problems.
Right.
So I was basically focused on that, you know.
It's like, are you building a dream or are you building a
Yeah,
nightmare?
yeah. So and then Alma and I were called to do the work that we did to start Starcodes Academy, which is kind of like this absurd story, but for business owners that come from the business side of life and going into being heart-led, spiritually led by your creative power. It was a total shift for both of us. And we had to trust, because we knew that we were supposed to work together, and we knew what our purpose here on earth is, but we had to kind of squeeze that into something called a business. And in the spiritual world, everything that's a business is a bad thing, because money is bad, everything is bad. But we had to shift that in our minds and create a business that we knew that was following what our hearts were calling for. And I think when we finally admitted to ourselves that we could create everything we wanted through our business, and we had the courage to take the steps needed to start creating. I mean, we're not done. No. We're just beginning. We're just starting. But what we have created so far with this connection and with our creative power is amazing, and a total shift in our own lives. And we both went from being, I think, quite lost, quite uncertain about who we were, what we stood for, and we stepped into our power. And now both of us, we know exactly what we want. We don't know exactly how we will get it, but we use our creative power to call for what we need and what we want into our lives.
But we've also gotten a lot of what we wanted.
Oh yes,
there has been a huge, like a complete transformation of our lives over the past years. And what a relief.
And what an amazing superpower to discover, this ability to create whatever. But sometimes you have to let go of the results, because there's something that you want for your business and for your life, but you are maybe too stuck in the strategies and the systems to realize exactly how to go about it. But when we use our creative power and our spiritual connection, we sometimes receive what we wish for in a completely different way.
Yeah.
And that shifts everything.
It does.
Yeah, and I really love this piece that you said, Alma, about, you're co-creating with life and you're co-creating with spirit, because and the way that I like to talk about it, there's a big difference between a picture and a vision. And once you're tapped into this sense of inner fire, this creative power, there's an inherent trust and surrendering that happens, where you're not trying to control everything anymore, because you have a partner in life. That you have a partner from source, you have partnership from something that's so much bigger than you, that resources you, and that can leads you towards the vision of what it is that you actually want, rather than the picture of what you think you want. And I think so much in the business world is all about strategy, which takes you to the picture. And there's nothing wrong with having pictures, because ultimately those are goals, and it's really important to make things tangible, to make things real, and to make things material, and to make things make money as well. And yet that's not the whole picture.
No.
And what I find really interesting is, even in creative businesses, even though the word creative is in it, it's still very easy to lose that creative power. And because the business side of it kind of like takes over, and like my kind of for those of you guys who are watching and you're new to me, are you like, is that okay? It kind of just felt like it's a flow. Sorry. So for those of you guys who are new to me, I run a business called Co-Create, which I started about a year and a half ago. And prior to that, I ran a brand and design agency for about a decade. which is a long time, to be in the same business. And and at the beginning, I was definitely engaging my creative fire because, a bit like you, Hrabbý, I'm also an artist. I'm a practicing artist now, and I've been an artist since I was a child, and it's very much been a part of my life. But in this entire time that I was running this business, so much of my focus, like after creating the initial thing and after kind of igniting the initial spark to decide that I wanted to leave the care sector, which is where I worked before. I was I was a residential manager for a Steiner college for young people with disabilities, and I specialized with autism. And I left that industry and decided that I was completely unemployable and I wanted to create a business. And at that point, I very much felt this creative power and this creative drive kind of like driving me and leading me somewhere that felt very alive and very real and very exciting. um, but then, after the first few years of doing that, things became kind of like pretty routine, and the kind of my attention was on business development, it was on metrics, it was on lead generation, it was on, and so on and so forth. And I even called myself a brand strategist. And but underneath all of that, the reality was that I was an artist. And and I think like a lot of artists resist the fact that they're business owners, which is a different story. I work with artists and creatives, but I also see that a lot of business owners resist the fact that they are artists. And so we over focus on the business side of things. And the reason I shifted and I decided to, you know, readjust my, well, actually completely reevaluate my business and build a completely new one and a new brand was because back in 2020, when the pandemic happened, my business was actually booming because so many businesses needed to adapt to this kind of like strange new world that we'd find myself in. And people were also setting up new businesses because they were getting furloughed. And suddenly, this kind of like quiet and this change from day to day life did reignite people's creative drives. And a lot of people, that meant putting that energy towards business. And so already we could see, like, business is inherently a creative thing because creativity to me means creating something out of nothing with your consciousness. And so I was getting referral after referral, and I should have been excited, but I wasn't, because I was just like in the kind of like routine of things. And I remember there was one point I kind of got to my desk and I saw an email from, I think it was a brand new client. I'd only just met them like a couple of days before, and I'd put out a proposal. It was something like 15 or 20K. So it wasn't gonna be a bad week. And I sent that to him. I got the green light, and ordinarily I would have been jumping up into, anyone would have been really happy about this, but that's not what happened. Instead, I was just like, oh, okay, like, here we go, like, engage the standard operating procedure. And I even had like SOPs like in my business, which is so sucking for an, it made it so efficient. And but then I caught myself at that moment and I was just like, what? Like, since when did my business become like standard procedure? At that point, I might as well have just had a job. It
Yeah,
was just the exact thing that I didn't want. And I was really good at what I did. People liked what I did. I had a really good reputation. I was fast, I was skilled, people trusted me. And it's not like I hated it for all that time. Like, for a long time I did love it, but it had become so standardized and so routine to the point where it was actually burning me out again. Not because it was working me too hard, but because it was working me hard in all the wrong areas, and I wasn't honoring that part of me that just wanted to play, that wanted to experiment, that wanted to do things differently. And I was too scared to actually engage that part of me because what I was doing was clearly working very well. Like, it was bringing in the clients, it was bringing in the money, but it wasn't growing, and I wasn't really able to scale, and I wasn't having fun. Like, underline, underline, underline. And and that kind of like it got me to a place of like comfort and complacency, which really it kills your spirit, and it's so hard to break away from it because it's so comfortable, right? um
Yes.
you know and so, and I think an important part of that is, back in 2020, I already knew at that point that I needed to pivot in some way. Like, I needed to either like get deeper into my niche and like, kind of brand myself a bit more boldly and reimagine what my brand was.
Mhm.
Some people, that's exactly what they needed. But for me, I had to like really pivot. But the pivot was so hard because my whole identity, like the way that I saw myself and the way that I saw the world seeing me, was
Mhm.
so wrapped up in the business. Like, if I wasn't Raphy, the brand designer that
Mhm.
every small to medium engineering consultancy
Yeah. Yeah.
wanted to work with, then who was I? Like, I
Mhm.
wasn't anybody. And it
Yeah.
took me, yeah, 4 years until I could really like detangle myself with that at an identity level.
Mhm.
But when I did, like, man, everything kind of like blew open. Like, not just in terms of like, oh, I had a new business idea and like went for it. And I launched like 3 or 4 different offers in the same year, and they all launched really well and they all sold out. And I had created something completely new that I wasn't known for at all.
Mhm.
And it was because of being able to reignite that creative fire that I could literally reinvent my life from something completely different.
Mhm.
And it was the same fire that started my first business. It was the same fire that had me work my way through a particular industry. But over time, when you don't tend to that fire, it kind of dies on you, and then you wonder why you feel you feel kind of half dead in this thing called your business, right?
Yeah. I think what we've been running the school since 2021, and in 2020 we were preparing how to start the school, and that there was a lot of creative effort that went into that, to the preparing of the course.
Yeah.
That we I forgot the name of our main course.
Your personal
Your personal
transformation.
transformation. Thank you. And since then we have been. I mean, we have been in like inventing quite a lot of new things, but in some ways it's been like business as usual, and we have stuck to the things that we feel safe doing. But now we are kind of we're in this transformational stage where we both felt really like unsatisfied in in our jobs, and we weren't really speaking about it. But when we opened our mouth, we were like, "Yes, me too," you know.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
So funny. We're always on the same page.
yes, and sometimes we are like hesitating a little bit about talking about it, but usually we always agree with most of the things. But we are kind of in this transformational period now where we are readjusting. We are focusing again on what makes us happy. What exactly, like you say, I mean, what ignites, how can we reignite this flame that we had at the beginning, and feel this, get this sense of purpose and passion, and that what we are doing matters. Because I think for us, and for all of us, of course, that is a key thing. We need to feel that what we do matters,
Yeah.
at least to ourselves, but if it doesn't leave us happy and fulfilled at the end of the day, I mean, what's the point?
Yeah.
And I think that a lot of us entrepreneurs, because I've been an entrepreneur in quite many areas. I mean, I've run hotels, fishing lodges, research centers, small tourism companies, museums, exhibitions. So I've done a lot of different things. But what it all has in common, that if you don't burn for what you're doing, and if it doesn't make you happy, then you burn out, but you can also burn out doing the things you love if you don't take care of yourself.
And I think we know these feelings so well, the feeling of, at the end of the day, we are not really satisfied with what we have been doing.
Yeah.
And it's easy to get there. It's so easy. But the more we think about our creative power, the more often we feel the need to reignite this creative flame within us, the more it becomes part of everyday life. And I think even though in business we need to make sure that this is something that we review every now and then, and we need to be conscious about this, we are much more aware in our personal lives as well, because this all hangs together. Because we cannot, for me at least, I cannot be unhappy at work and then come home and be very happy and joyful. It's just, spending a lot of time doing, and I've done this, I've done all the corporate jobs, and same as you, it wasn't boring. I mean, I loved what I was doing in a way, but it just didn't fulfill me in the same way that this does, what I'm doing today.
Yeah.
And I think it's also recognizing, especially if you are a company of 1 or 2 or 3 people, that when you evolve, when you change, your company needs to change as well. I mean, you need to change how you do things. And we have changed a lot in the last 3 years. But we were still operating at the level we started with,
Yeah.
So, and that was kind of like, we felt like everything was keeping us down. So we needed to find this creative power and use it to help us shift.
There's definitely like that sense of like outgrowing something, and it's like, it's like getting an outfit at the beginning of your career.
Yes.
And then, and then not changing it. And then it's like, oh, it's a bit small, it doesn't really fit anymore. Like my hips have grown, like this, like, and you really just need to recognize that for what it is, and have the courage and the bravery to actually do something about it. Because, like when I was in this 2020 time, like I said, it took me so long to accept that that's what was happening, because the identity was so kind of like locked in. And, and I, at the time, wasn't yet in a mindset where I was so ready to invest myself. Like now, I'm just like, I'm in so many different containers. I work with different kinds of mentors, and I'm really intentional about, making sure that I spend my resources on things that are going to bring back an investment beyond just a return on investment monetarily, but that it's going to help me grow and expand as a full human being, and beyond just, business owner. Because that's what I was in. It was just who I was just a business owner, and there was nothing else around it, which not only stifled me, but it stifled the business. And I say that it takes courage to change that. You talked about evolution, because some of the things that were going through my mind back in 2020 was, what if I started something new and like nobody wants it? What if the thing that's gonna really excite me, or the thing that I really want to do, and I knew exactly what it was, right down to the value ladder. Like, what if it will be a mistake? What if I regret leaving this business? What if this move, tarnishes my reputation forever? And kind of just like endless what ifs. But there was also this feeling that the only other choice was to stay feeling the way that I was, which was kind of like empty. And the thought of things not changing, and the thought of things staying exactly how they were, the thought of my business hitting the same ceilings over and over and over again, and me not knowing what to do about it, that was marginally scarier than the what ifs. And that's kind of like what propelled me to kind of like move forward to and find something, create something that I knew was going to have me be actually living, rather than just existing and kind of like keep hustling for a business and a life that got attached to it that wasn't really meant for me. And and choosing the latter, even though it was hard and even though it was scary, gave me room to create the new business that I now have. It gave me room to reconnect myself with my own art, with a different level of accountability, because I'm also leading other artists and creatives to do what it is that fulfills them. And it gave me my membership, which is like, a community that that I lead, but I'm also there every single day. It gave me the opportunity to work with people at such a deep level through coaching, which I couldn't do just as a brand strategist because people weren't gonna open up in the same way.
Yeah.
It gave me like, and because I had a blank canvas, I could just be at the time that I was running the brand and design agency. I also did a lot of training in various forms of energy work, like meditation. I studied to be a shiatsu practitioner, studied tensegrity, I studied macrobiotics, and I wasn't really doing anything with it other than kind of semi taking care of myself. And making this pivot meant I had a blank canvas and I could just be like, well, I could do anything. And so I started running meditation workshops and like stuff that I just couldn't do running a brand and design agency. And so suddenly my business was this playground. And within about 3 months, I replaced the revenue that I was making from my old business anyway. Maybe 3 to 6 months. And and it started growing from there. And I was just suddenly having, well, maybe not so suddenly, but I was having a lot of fun in my business again and inventing things and, kind of finding collaborations like this. Like I wouldn't have been able to connect with you guys and just on one night when, to be fair, I wasn't thinking you guys were, but one night on a night out in London, we were like, we're going to run a retreat together. And within a couple of weeks, it was just, it was done. It was booked.
We were wearing cowboy hats at the time.
Some magic in those hats.
Yeah,
And,
but
and that wouldn't be possible if I didn't allow myself to evolve and do something different that had a fire lit underneath it. And that's, that's what gets to happen. And in other areas of my life as well, I paint every day, I write poems again, I spend more time in nature, I cook slowly, I connect with people in a different way, like outside of coaching. And it just gave me a connection right back to spirit, and to a point where now I have so much trust that whatever I put out there will work. Even if it flops, there's a learning in there that I trust is exactly the right thing for me to keep growing in my business. And that trust wasn't, that surrender wasn't there before because I didn't allow myself to experience spirit and life itself as a partner.
Yeah, I think we've been in a similar place with our membership. For example, we have a membership here in Iceland that has between 25 and 30 people at the moment. And we started it with a particular idea about what we wanted it to be. But then we changed, so we had to, the membership has to reflect how we change.
Yeah.
And we have this big emphasis in our company that people show up, that people do the work. And if you want to be in our circle, do business with us, then you have to be ready to answer, the difficult questions. You have to be willing to be a part of a community, and
basically show up for ourselves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And which means that we need to do that ourselves. We need to practice what we preach. And that is one of the things that I found quite complicated, because I've sometimes felt like I was a split personality.
Yeah.
I was the artist, Hrabbý. I'm a musician, so I showed up in the music industry in a certain way. Then I was also painting and drawing, and that was like a different part of me. And then I was Hrabbý from Starcodes Academy, which was like one aspect. And then I had a completely different costume when I was dealing with my family and things like that. So it was getting so complicated in my head because I felt like I didn't exactly know who I was. But as soon as I said, okay, I am here to create the life that I want to create. And that means that I have to show up exactly who I am in every aspect of my life. I have to be the same person in my business, on stage, through my paintings, in the school, through my, mentorship, everything. I have to be always the authentic Hrabbý,
Yeah.
And just letting go of all the different sides of me, I think, and just merging into one was such a relief. And I don't think it was until then that I could really just focus on using my creative power to create the life I want, and not, filtering it through different sides of me all the time. The artist wanted one thing, but maybe the guide wanted another thing, and the mom wanted the third thing, and it was very conflicted, and I had a meeting with all of them and nobody agreed.
No, I mean 100%, and I love that you had a meeting with them, because I just launched my 12-week program. By the way, Lauren, we clocked your question, and hi Ryan, so we will get to it. Just want to say something about what you were talking about in terms of integration, because I just launched my 12-week program. It's called You the Artist, which is a branding program for artists and creatives. But when we talk about branding in business, it's always at the surface level of like what does things look like on the outside? How do you build authority, and in the way that people see you? All of which are really important. But I think what a lot of people miss is that all of this is built from the inside out.
Yeah.
And so with week one of this program, the first thing that we talked about paradigms to start with, that was the first thing. We didn't even touch brand on the first session. And one of the homeworks that I gave them was to do a life audit. And I gave them 12 areas of life to have a look at, and really look at, like, well, what are these aspects of your life asking for? Where have you created a mess, which is completely normal and human? And what's your relationship to that mess? Have you been avoiding it? Have you been making yourself wrong for it? Have you been self-flagellating over the laundry thing, which I've just finished today? Like, the pile of laundry that's been in your, like, or whatever, or like the state of your car or whatever it is. And it seems like it's all these small things, but the way that we approach them and the self-talk that comes with them, like, that that's what influences the authority that we see ourselves as.
Yeah.
And when that is misaligned with the image that we're wanting to project through our brand into our business, then people are going to feel that disconnect.
Definitely.
And actually, there's that inner work, doing the life audit thing. I mean, all of the guys are like freaking out, because they're starting to see kind of like gaps in their lives. But it's really, they're there to show us, like, these are all the different parts of your life that make up your one whole, and they're asking things of you. They're not telling you off, but they're asking of something of you, so that you can operate from one place, rather than this place of fragmentation where you have to put on different hats. And if you think about how many times you go in and out of the different parts of your life in a day, that's bloody exhausting at the very least, right?
Yeah. And we often, and I've written about this a few times, all these masks that we have on, and it's not just in business, but also we do it in our personal lives, going into meeting with this group of people, and then this part of family, and then home, and then you're going to school with your kids or your grandkids, and you're a different person, and you're showing up as parents or grandparents or whatever. It's exhausting. It's not possible to be like this, and it takes up way too much energy.
Yeah.
And that's one of those things that I have learned, that if I cannot, I mean, why should I be afraid of showing who I really am?
Yeah.
And if I cannot be myself with people, are these the right people to be with? Are those the right rooms to be in?
100%. And I think, like, linking that back to the creative fire, I think when we have that insecurity of feeling like, oh, we can't be ourselves, it's that phenomenon that literally behaves like a dampener for that creative fire.
Mm-hmm.
Because your creative fire has only one intent, which is for you to live your authentic self. And so when you're doing everything in your actual power to dampen that, so that you can fit in, or that you can be strategic, or you can show up as the perfect version of whatever in whatever part of your life, then you take something away, and you erode something away from your true nature, which is this inherent, like, kind of creative fire. But when you can kind of like put down those, let's say, masks, and when you can put down the need or the requirements to be some other way than you already actually are,
Yeah.
then this really starts to ignite, and it starts to be a driver for your business and for you who you are, in a way that gives you so many opportunities that you can't even conceive of, and actually no strategy can possibly account for, because
Yeah.
the complexity and richness of what's available when you're connected to yourself in life is just fucking big.
Yeah.
And
And
and that's what you trade off for by focusing only on strategy.
And it's the same as we often talk about with people when they're afraid of letting go of people that they have been in communication with maybe for decades,
Yeah.
then it's creating space for something new, for
Yeah.
new people to enter. It's the same with business. I mean, we have to let go of some things that we don't enjoy doing anymore, because that gives us space to create something new and
Yeah.
reignite this fire, and then we can go on and enjoy and create something new that maybe it's unique. We don't know.
Yeah.
And I think that as soon as we realize, and I think the most important thing for us to realize is that we are creating every single day. We
Yeah.
are using our creative power every single day. When we are masking, when we are creating the life that we really don't want to live, but we feel obligated to live, we are creating that. We are using our creative power to create something that we don't want.
Yeah.
So, and just to realize that you create your own happiness, you create your communities.
Yeah.
We create communities, we create societies, we create nations, we create everything around us. And if we can just channel that power into something good, something heart-led, so we all find fulfillment in our lives, and we are happy, and we are living our purpose and walking the path that we were destined to walk. The
Mm.
world will be such it will be a much better place to live in.
Yeah.
So it's also just tapping into that, and understanding that we all have the responsibility to do that.
Yeah.
It's all a part of creating a better life, a better
Yeah.
world, and we are a part of that, and we are responsible for our part in
Yeah.
creating
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. And I think it's easy to underestimate how big that part is. Like,
Yeah.
my guiding vision is that artists are leaders in the evolution of consciousness.
Yeah.
And when you are a business owner, your business is your art.
Mm-hmm.
It's what you're creating, and when you refuse to see that, you're diminishing not just your impact, which as a business owner you want. You're diminishing not just your ability to attract the clients that you want to work with. You're diminishing not just the amount of income and money that you can generate, but you're diminishing the very purpose and the very soul of why you were put on this planet to do, and the work that you're doing through your business, because that is your art. And
Yeah.
it is a responsibility, but it's also a privilege.
Yeah.
It's a privilege to be able to create your life
Yeah.
from literally like nothing. And it's and again, in my program, in the first week, I was talking about being both part and whole. Like, we are, like, as a human system, Raphy, I am whole. Like, without anything else attached to me, I am a whole being. But and I'm also part of this trio that's going to run this retreat. I'm also part of a larger community. I'm a part of a family. I'm part of a community locally. I'm part of a wider business community. I'm part of a society called the UK. I'm part of a culture called the Philippines. I'm part of like a species called humanity. And if my relationship with this bigger whole is whole, then what I do gets reflected out there, and
Yeah.
vice versa. And if I'm serious about changing the things that I complain about the world, then I have to do my part. And
Mhm.
and doing my part doesn't mean, oh, I don't like X, therefore I have to participate in this organization in order to create the solution. Like, that's a very linear way of thinking, which is the strategy, right? where it's like doing our part means listening to what it is that makes us feel alive, and trusting that that aliveness is going to lead us to the path where we make the biggest difference for the time that we're here on the planet.
Definitely. And I think us as business owners, especially if you're not maybe in a spiritual business, every time somebody mentions spirituality, we kind of like zone out. That's not something for me. Spirituality is something where we all sit together on a glitter sky, glitter cloud, and we sing Kumbaya together and maybe do some shrooms. That's being spiritual in the eyes of many people. But for us, we are very like practical housewives. So spirituality for us, and when it comes to ourselves and our business, spirituality is just realizing that your actions, your thoughts, your words every day, they affect your whole life and the world around you.
Yeah.
And that's why we have to be in balance. Our energy has to be pure. We have to be connected to the earth. We have to be connected to our heart. And we have to believe or trust that there is something to catch us.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And it's basically taking this responsibility for our lives.
Yeah.
It's taking responsibility for that we are the ones that create the lives we are living.
Yeah.
And I think one of the things we need to be conscious about is all the labels, like creativity and artists, that's something negative, that's something that is fluffy and doesn't follow strategy.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, working with someone like you, Raphy, that is very strategic but still very creative, that is amazing. And I'm not an artist like the two of you. I have not been painting or writing or,
You have been writing.
I write.
Yes.
I don't write songs. But that I realized is one of my creative outlets. But I didn't consider myself creative for many, many, many years. I never thought I was creative. But then after I realized, no, I am creative and I create a lot of things. I mean, just, my meditations are sometimes a very nice adventure to go on, and I can take you to to many different places that are, I don't have this in my mind. I have to co-create this with spirit because I don't have this imagination. I am taking on these journeys and they are amazing. And this is my superpower.
Yeah.
And just, removing this label of not being creative, because we all have this amazing creative power within us. And to say that we are not artists in the way we, create life or create the business we work in or we own. This is something that we need to take these labels off. The same as with spirituality. And I think that's important because we all need to be whole and we need to realize this. We take off the masks and allow ourselves to, feel what is within.
And one of the things that, I often talk about, I do talk about human beings being inherently creative. We are, as if you can take this as literal or you can take this as a metaphor, but we are directly in between heaven and earth. So we connect the earth energy of materializing things into this world, and we have a connection with spirit. That is the heart, and that's the currency of creativity. So if you're a human, you are creative, yes. And to truly honor that creativity and be an artist in your business, whatever that business happens to be, or be an artist in whatever medium you want to be an artist as a mother, to be an artist as a whatever. The difference between your inherent creativity and being an artist is commitment. Which is this, what you're talking about, practical spirituality. It's waking up every day and committing to the difference that you're going to make. And with business, we can get so lost in the moving parts that we forget why we're doing it in the first place. And we forget that our business is not a separate thing from the rest of our lives and from who we are. And your business is the biggest, or at least one of the biggest expressions of your creative power and the biggest expressions of your humanity, the biggest expressions of who you are. It's not all that you are, but if it's of you and it's an expression of you, it's such a powerful vessel for the difference that you're here to make, and to not treat it as an art is doing your business a disservice, and it's doing your wholeness a disservice. And so, in response to what Lauren's asking about, about your spiritual connection, for me, it's this.
Mm-hmm.
It's really awakening people to the fact that, we are artists. We're here to create something of significance, and we're here to lead the evolution of human consciousness.
Yeah.
And that's a choice that we make every day.
Mm-hmm. And I've been scrolling through LinkedIn, which I think it's quite interesting, and I've come to recognize that I think often, especially women, when we want to be perceived as business women, we have to wear, wear the costume, the suit.
Yeah.
And we usually have a profile picture with us like this.
Yeah.
Smiling, with like a slideshow in the background,
Yeah.
There is this idea about what we are supposed to be.
Yeah.
And for us to be taken seriously, we lean a lot on the strategies, and we lean on what we have been told is the right way to go.
Yeah.
But I think because we live in a world that has been mostly led by masculine energy so far, at least for the last several hundreds of years.
The Industrial Revolution.
Yes, our world will not change if women keep doing the things that men did. We have to, because we're different, we think differently. And when both our strengths come together and we start doing things like we should both, in cooperation. I mean, maybe we have to go all the way to the female side. I don't know in the beginning, but I think there's so many business women that don't tap into their creative power because they are afraid that they won't be taken seriously if they don't do things like they have always been done before.
Yeah.
And one of my greatest wishes is to see these powerful women step into their creative power and start doing things like they want to do it.
Yeah.
And I think a great example of that is our president here. She has been doing. I won't say that she has been revolutionizing, the office, but she's doing like this small different things that other presidents haven't.
Yeah.
So I think with changing slowly but steadily and tapping into our hearts where our creative power lives,
Yeah.
And I think we can not only change ourselves and we can revolutionize our businesses, but we can also change the world. And I sound very, what do you say, idealistic probably, but I've had this urgency inside me since I was like 10 years old that I was born on this earth to save the world. So but I save myself first, and then I can think about somebody else. But
I mean, guys, Iceland is a different world. So I think when is our retreat? Is it the 5th to the 8th?
5th to the 8th of March.
Yeah.
So it's a trip to Iceland, but my God, won't you? It will be one hell of a pilgrimage.
It will be amazing, especially because we have like the volcanoes and the lava just straight under our feet. So it's not only the fire within, it's fire everywhere.
Yeah. And it's the slow burning fire as well that really kind of that kind of, it's the kind of fire that feeds and nourishes rather than destroys. Because earlier you were talking about like, are you creating a dream or are you creating a nightmare? I mean, that was my metaphor for it, but we are in this creative thing. And so when that fire is intended to, it kind of like, it either dims down and dies, and then you get like really, you get into a depressing, messy situation, which I'm very familiar with. Or like it gets destructive, and there's a lot of anger that gets externalized, and things like goes outwards in a way that isn't intended or isn't intentional. which I'm also deeply familiar with. So, and it's these two like polarizing effects that we often associate fire with. It's like, something that's dangerous is something that you don't kind of don't play with fire, we tell children and women. But but actually it's like, no, do play with fire, but play with it with respect, play with it in relationship, like play with it, rather than kind of rather than treat it as something that's separate from you. And I think part of business as well, like just one thing I wanted to share is, not everything you do in business has to be in any way, shape, or form strategic. So back in August, I did a solo exhibition, and it was like 1,000 paintings that I'd done under 11 months. And really I wanted to do it because I had an ache to do something creative. I haven't had a show in a good 10 years, and I wanted to do something. And I also wanted to be able to walk my talk as I'm guiding my artists and my creatives into putting their work out there and putting themselves out there. But that was it. This wasn't a business strategy move. This was purely honoring some part of myself that wanted attention, and that wanted me to create, and that wanted me to hone in on different things other than just what's happening in my business. And this exhibition was all about capturing energetic signatures, and so what I mean by that are the kind of the energetic essence of the things that are happening around us. So certain interactions have a certain energy, certain emotions that come up for us have a certain energy, a thought or a memory has an energy, like the color of the sky has an energy, my dog barking in the middle of the night has a certain energy, and my reaction to that has a certain energy. And so over these 1,000 paintings, that's been my daily practice, and that's been my daily connection with spirit. And it has improved my coaching skills, which wasn't its intended purpose. And obviously it's a good demonstration of authority, which was predictable but wasn't the point. But when I had this exhibition, what it yielded for my business was just completely unpredictable. Like I made like revenue of like over 4K over those 2 weeks. I landed one-to-one VIP day client. I had two people sign up to my membership. I had two requests for commissions, and and none of those things were intended. Like I wasn't doing this just to gain these results. I just wanted to honor a part of me. And it was almost like I was rewarded for my authenticity, but precisely because I wasn't doing it for a reward.
Yeah.
Precisely because it wasn't strategic. And because I was in this daily practice of creativity, my senses, my sensitivity for energy, which is important in my work, my sensitivity for ideas, my sensitivity for the way that I'm looking at how people behave, the way that I'm listening for human beings being human, just amplified in a way that I could never have predicted. And so so I didn't do a year-long course on leadership or coaching. I created an exhibition, and it gave me so much more than what any course would do.
Yeah.
So not everything has to be strategic. Just do what you're called to, and probably the spirit in life will reward you in all areas of your life.
It's also just I had the same with my solo album. Of course, there's always, because we are human, we cannot completely detach from what we are creating, and the expectation we might have. At least I find it quite. It's been a journey for me, let's say, but I think that my rewards for that weren't necessarily that I got more stage time or anything like that. It's more that I realized a dream, like you said. I realized a dream, and I understand the power that comes with that feeling, And I think it's the same with everything you create. If it's a product in your company, if it's an art piece, it's or an area, or if your life that you want to use your creative power for, is that you have to let go of the outcome. You have to let go of what other people think about what you are doing, because it doesn't matter what you create, there will always be people that will not like it. It's just a fact of life.
Yeah.
Nobody will be liked by everyone.
Yeah,
And
not even Taylor Swift.
No, not even her.
It's not just about what you are creating for your business, or creating some art, and just realized when I let go of all these boxes that society creates, and now we are society, obviously we are the community, but I really do not want to go the same circle again and again and again.
Yeah.
And as the parent of a neurodivergent child that is required to show up to school, for example, every day. And one day I decided to say just simply no. It wasn't sustainable for our mental health anymore. So I said no. And it doesn't matter what happens, even though by law the kid has to show up. I'm like, no, it's not happening. And just this, and I felt very bold. I felt very courageous.
Radical move.
But this has been such a great change for our lives. And also it encouraged me to be bolder in everything else in what I do, both in my personal and business life. Because if I can change this thing, because I'm required to do something, but if it's not good for me or my child, then I'm simply not doing it anymore. And this was a big step, but it impacted so many things in a good way in my life. And I would never have had the courage to do this if we hadn't done all the work that we have been doing on ourselves and in our business, and connecting to this creative power, because that has had such a great impact on our lives.
Yeah, and I think that this is a really good point, because unless you are you are balanced yourself, and if you don't know who you are, and you move with the wind, whatever way the wind blows, in your business or whatever, if you don't stand firmly on your own 2 feet, and if you don't know your heart, you will never be able to create the things that are right for you, because you don't know what's right for you.
Right.
So you have to do the work on yourself, and you have to know who you are.
Yeah.
To be able to create what you want.
And it's also, I think we also underestimate what are the tools are at our disposal as business people that creates that change. And one of the things, I'm not talking about the internet, of course those are technological tools, but I'm talking about inner assets that we have. And one of the most important pieces is self-expression. Self-expression, i.e. the energy behind the words that come out of your mouth, which is why we're doing this live, because we want you to sign up to Reignite, which, by the way, the link is at the top of the thing, and we'll put it in the chats as well. But we've come on here to speak about that because we know that our words have power. We know that our self-expression carries an energy beyond just the language itself, beyond just and we didn't even write a script or any kind of bullet points for this conversation, because there's enough trust that if we just connect with you in the way that we are, you will hear something beyond any strategy, beyond any messaging, and it's not like we haven't thought about those things. Of course we have, but it's this understanding that you're gonna experience something through our words. And if that moves you enough to sign up to a free event where your inner fire is going to be awakened, then we will have done our job. And if that encourages you, and if that invites you, and that inspires you to sign up to a 3-day retreat in Iceland, then we've done our job. And if you come out of the retreat in Iceland being so fucking rooted in your creativity and self-expression, and you make the same impact out in the world through your business, then we've done the next job. And the one tool that comes across through all of those steps is our self-expression. And that's what we want you to have. That's what we want you to hone in on. And that can't come from strategy. No strategy will tell you who to be.
Exactly. True.
So that's
We have to figure that out ourselves, and that's we're here to help everyone doing that.
Yeah.
exactly.
And it doesn't really matter how much work we have done on ourselves. We can always learn more, and that's one of the reasons why Hrabbý and I have been investing quite a lot in ourselves this year, to continue growing, because as long as we are growing, then we still have something to do here, because if we stop growing, then we simply don't exist anymore.
Yeah.
And,
And that day will come. So, don't worry. If you hate me, we will die eventually. But,
eventually.
but we're not like, for as long as we're here, for as long as I'm here, I speak for myself, I will keep investing in myself. I will keep growing. I will keep going on pilgrimages to Iceland, to wherever I'm being called to, because that's part of my commitment as an artist. That's part of my commitment as a human being. And the day that I stop doing that is the day that, it's time for me to go. And I intend to live for a really long time. So if you hate me, sorry about that. But I'm going to be alive.
We all love you. I hope so. But I last night, I requested the same Northern Light show as we had then. I requested that for March, because believe me, that was amazing, because I live very close to the hotel where we will host the retreat, and it is an amazing place on a lake, lava and mountains around. It's very beautiful, and the show yesterday was amazing. It was crazy.
It's a pilgrimage. It's nothing short of a pilgrimage. No different than, I used to travel to Lourdes on a yearly basis, and there is something about these places. I'm not Catholic. I mean, I was baptized just like every other Filipino, but I've never been a practicing Catholic. But I traveled to Lourdes every single year at Easter as part of an organization that I was with for also the same decade that I was running my business. And there's something about coming to that place and experiencing the energy of the land, and experiencing all of the people that have traveled there in the past, that have given something of themselves, that, it's inexplicable and it moves you. And, me and my partner joke around, because we live in quite an idyllic place in the Cotswolds. It's a small town called Stroud. And, people come here to be on holiday. People come here to have their spiritual retreats. And we don't go to those places because we live next door. And, and there's something about getting out of your own doorstep and traveling somewhere and putting in the extra effort that gives you a completely different experience, especially if you're coming for something like this, where, for 3 solid days, is it 4 days? I can't forget.
It's 4 days. It's Thursday afternoon until Sunday afternoon. Yeah,
I shouldn't know these details, but 3.5 days where you're going to be held in a space by the 3 of us in the community that you're going to be a part of for that period of time, and to really reflect on who are you, and who is life asking you to be, and are you living up to that, and how can you be for the benefit of your own deep joy and fulfillment, and dare I say happiness, which is never the point, but
it's 3 days. It's 3 days that can completely shift your life and your business and the way you look at it. And I think, because I think also in business, we get stuck in doing what we are good at.
Yeah.
And I think that's our destiny. We are supposed to be doing what we're good at. But then, for example, like me, I'm really good at a lot of things, but I find some of them very boring. So you have to, if you're good at something, doesn't necessarily mean that's your purpose. So if you're doing something in your company that you're really good at, but it doesn't fulfill you or make you happy, that's the reason why nothing is moving the way you want it to move.
Yeah.
So you need to revisit your core, your company, yourself. And a great place to do that is Iceland during winter.
Yeah. And
snowed in. No.
Not just connecting
Yeah.
to the land, to the elements, to the elementals, even to our ancestors. I mean, we are going to do so many amazing things. But we start with Reignite.
Yeah, Telegram event on the 29th and 30th of
October.
I will. We're gonna post. We're really good with dates.
Yeah. I put the link in the chat, so please, you can sign up there. I mean, it's a free event. It's two hours each day.
It's just a taste of what we will be doing in Iceland, and maybe a good way for you guys to get to know us and how we work. To see if that moves your heart and really gets that fire going.
Yeah, and I think we have prepared great things for you that you can benefit from, wherever you are in your life or business.
Yeah. And so like 2 promises that I think we can make. One is that you have nothing to lose other than who you think you are, who isn't who you are anyway.
Yeah.
So, and the second thing is that there will be no business strategy in this.
No.
Yes.
You will not have to study a framework or write a report or do what, the only thing you have to do will be to be and to go within and find out.
It will be a nice journey. I mean, we're discovering things. So, we, at least that's something that we enjoy a lot, because we always find something interesting and something fun.
Yeah, and there's no business strategy, not because we don't think it's important, but because 25 million other people are delivering that, and at least 1% of those 25,000 million people are good at what they do.
Yeah. But this business strategy doesn't work if your heart is not in the business.
Exactly. And so we're going to address something deeper than the strategy, and then you can apply whatever strategy you want and it will work.
Yeah, that's the key.
Yeah. So Simon left us a potato.
Yes, I got a duck from him, so that's nice.
So for those of you who don't understand, Simon's coming, right? So putting you on a very tight spot there, Simon, but I think Simon's coming.
It looks like he's bringing duck and bread.
He's bringing duck
and potatoes.
Yep.
And he's just like one of the most like out there people in the world, like seriously, like highly creative. He came to my exhibition and like for literally like 6 hours straight, he inspired us one single conversation with one single topic, which was potatoes. And it went on for like 6 hours. So that's the level of inspiration and creativity that this man brings. Just for anyone wondering what the potato meant.
Yeah, I think that should be. I think that's it. I think we have empty. We could speak, of course, for hours and hours and hours.
Yeah.
But I think this is good for now.
It's good for now. We'll be live again later, but we look forward to seeing you and getting to know you better in the Reignite event.
Yeah. You can. We posted the link in the comment section, and you can also sign up for the event on our webpage, starcodesacademy.com.
Yeah. And obviously we're hitting each other's audiences. So if you are not yet connected with Alma or Hrabbý, just connect with them straight away on Facebook. And if you're not connected with me, I'm also on Facebook at Raphy Mendoza Official and on Instagram as well. So before we leave, just want to say thank you for everybody who came. So thank you, Ryan, for being here. Thank you, Simon, for the potato. And Lauren Rose was here for a while. Hera was here. So just want to say thank you to all of those guys. And over on Instagram, we had Joanna, Joe, Zarina, Kevin, and a bunch of other people who I can't see anymore. So
we had on this end, we had Elizabeth Sharp, Lily Frost, and just a lot of people. Like if I'm going to read all the names, it's going to take a lot of time. So I'll say thank you so much
to everyone
for joining us. It was an honor, and I hope we will see you on Telegram on the 29th of October.
See you guys soon.
Thanks, Raphy.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.